future is here. You now have the power to unlock the secrets of the hobby. An innovation that will change the way the industry works. The game changer is here. Card Ladder.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Conversations with Chris. This is episode 8, and today we've got no big surprise here coming into the NBA playoffs. What am I most excited about? I can't wait to watch Luka, Disney bubble Luka, and I could not think of a better person to talk about this with, and many other topics than G. You can find him on Instagram, The Lucky Show 05. You can find him on YouTube, The Luka Show, no spaces, THE Luka Show. And this guy is an inspiration to me. We're going to get into all stuff about his PC and his collecting. But man, just scrolling his Instagram page is truly a sight to behold, but we'll get into some of this stuff. So first thing I want to do, G, welcome to the show, man. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me on. It's kind of surreal being on one of your shows. I've been listening to you for over a year, so I don't think we've ever actually talked, but I feel like I've talked with you like numerous times just because I'm used to listening to you. So
same thing. You're very welcome, man. I was listening to your newest episode today on the Luka Show, the top 10 Panini inserts, and now talking to you is just a seamless transition. That's the first thing I want to talk to you about, man, is the Luka Show on YouTube. So like me and Christina and Brian on the House of Jordans, we were so excited to see that a podcast in the hobby was coming out about Luka cards, because now our two favorite players have podcasts named after them, which is just amazing. And man, I'm on your YouTube right now. Like I said, you just had a new video come out yesterday, top 10 Panini basketball inserts. You've got the best Luka mail days on YouTube, and it's not even close. You've got another episode here, top 10 Panini parallels, talking about some of your buying and selling of Lukas and the strategy, the thinking that goes behind it, Luka versus Zion cards. You've got amazing giveaways here. You've got one of my favorite videos is the Luka top 7 plays in the NBA, because I remember every single one of those plays, man.
I had a lot of fun doing those episodes. That top 7 plays, especially, just watching those videos. And that was a time when we hadn't seen Luka for months, So when I got around to doing the research and picking out the top 10, that was like the most fun I've had doing any episode. Just because it's like I get to watch Luka, and in some ways you forget how good he is, how shifty he is with his moves. But, it's really you guys. It's really the House of Jordans that gets the assist for that show even starting off. But did Christina tell you how the show really came about?
She did not. No, she did not. No.
All right. So this is interesting that she didn't tell you this. So I was going to be on her show, Christina's Corner, probably about 2 months ago. And she invited me on so we could talk about Luka's autos. And specifically, people know me as the guy who defends his autos. I say that he signs all of his autos. And she basically wanted me to come on, do an episode laying out why I thought he signed all of his autos. Now, we started recording. We got like 15, 20 minutes into a recording, but I felt like, oh man, I'm approaching this subject the wrong way. And I told Christina, hey, can we take a break? Let me do some more research on this. I want to lay it out a little bit differently. And she was cool. She said, okay, let's film again in like 3-4 days. And during those 3-4 days, you guys use StreamYard. We're using StreamYard right now. And I just started tinkering around with it because I was going to be doing some video sharing, some screen sharing. I just want to get better at switching screens and all that stuff. But what ended up happening was I just started recording myself, right? I just started recording myself to see how I looked and exactly how the screen sharing was going to come off. But that kind of just led me to one night tinkering with one of my videos. And I realized that I could start scribbling on the actual video itself. and I could circle areas that I wanted to. So that night, I made the first episode of the Luca show. And the hard part was going to Christina the next day and being like, hey, I know you wanted to talk about Luca's autos, but I kind of made a video myself. Like, would you mind if I started making these episodes? And she was cool with it. And that was really the beginning. I made the next episode, my top 7 Lucas, like that day. So it was really you guys wanting to come on or going on to Christina's Corner show that led to all of this. So I'm still scratching my head sometimes wondering, like, how do I have 12 videos? Why am I so obsessed with video analytics now? But it's really Christina, who I like to call the most powerful woman in the hobby.
Well, when Lameme James made a meme that used her as like the Barbara Walters of the hobby, I mean, I think that just solidified her. She definitely was on cloud 9 after that meme came out for a while.
Can I just say, though, it's hard to follow up Lameme James. I just listened to his conversation with you, man. And I love that guy. That guy is hilarious. He's always just brought a smile to my face. Even before he was Lameme James, it's super cool to see him and what he does blowing up.
I totally agree. He's a legend, man. I was so glad he agreed to come on and talk. Definitely a different perspective on the hobby. But let me talk about the top 7 reasons regarding to Luca and who signs his autos or not, just for a second. Yeah. Very, very important video to have out there because it balances the discussion. And I thought it was very well done, well presented. You're making a case. You're making an argument. It's a video that anybody who has an interest in the topic of the authenticity of Luca's autographs, they should consider that video alongside any other evidence that they might look at. So highly recommend that video. I mean, if you're not subscribed to his channel already, just go ahead and subscribe. It's great content over there. Now, okay, so that tells us a lot about the origin story of the show. Do you have any, like, and you said you use like writing on like visuals, words, images, in addition to showing yourself discussing things and showing cards and showing footage. That's one of the most appealing parts of your channel to me. It's so compact. You were able to say everything in 8, 7, 10 minutes, and then you embellish it in the editing phase, which makes it very compact to view. What plans do you have going forward for the channel? Do you have any, like, what's the philosophy behind the growth of the channel?
That's a good question, Chris, and maybe you can provide a better answer for me. I'm still figuring that out. I think the thing that I realized early on that I liked and that you pointed out is being able to draw on it, right? That kind of gives me the freedom to just say whatever I want. I don't have to script out what I'm going to do as much, because if I mess up, I can just scribble, the correction. So it gives me the freedom to just really, speak off the cuff. And if I make a mistake, then I can scribble in the correct answer. So that's the one main thing I know that I want to continue, right? Is this kind of back and forth between me and my scribbles. Besides that, it's really early on. I was just thinking I'm going to do all these top 7 episodes, right? Top 7 Luca plays, Luca cards. I was going to do top 7 Luca mistakes that I've made. But I think the reality is that I really wanted to talk more in general about basketball cards, and really more specifically, modern cards, Panini cards. So that's been my focus lately, is moving the discussion more towards cards. Like you said, I just put out an episode on inserts. Inserts has become a big discussion lately. I did an episode on parallels. I did an episode on just a bunch of different cards that I'm selling. So I think there's a shift right now in terms of making it more really about sports card content. But, Luca is still going to be a big part of the show, especially with the NBA coming back. I would really like to do a bunch of different, quote unquote reaction videos to some of his plays, his games. But honestly, I'm so bad at the tech side of this stuff. It's like the scribbles is as high tech as I can get it right now. Like, I switched cameras. I'm starting to figure out lighting. But if you've watched any of my episodes, you know that I'm not like the most tech savvy guy in the world. So still trying to figure out that aspect. If I could, learn how to edit stuff a little bit better, and just make things a little bit smoother, I think that'll be another goal. But for the most part, I want to keep kind of that low pro feel going, and keep it casual. But I want it to really be about collecting modern cards with a good dosage of Luca thrown in. So I guess that's my vision for the show. But who knows? Ask me in a month, it might be a different answer.
Well, I think your channel, one of those reaction videos, man, could go viral because I really like your takes on the NBA itself, and in addition to cards. So I highly encourage you to do that because one of those videos, man, and all of a sudden you got a couple 100,000 eyeballs on your page. And that'd be great for the hobby.
Also, me kind of living or just kind of living one of my childhood dreams. I have no idea why I did this when I was a little kid, but I would mute games and I would pretend to be the play-by-play guy, right? So this is kind of my chance to like do that.
For sure.
But this is probably as far as it'll go, and hopefully I'll figure out the tech side. I'll be able to do some of those videos because, like I said before, those are the most fun to do. Because you're literally just watching something and then either commenting on what you're seeing or, just making funny noises. So it's something I like to do more of. Just can't figure out exactly how to.
Dude, you have the voice for it too. You definitely have the baritone pitch to be definitely somebody who's commentating and announcing on things. I remember when I was a kid as well, I used to have one of those small recorders, a dictaphone, and I would play NBA Live on Super Nintendo or on PlayStation or whatever that the early console was. And I would narrate the game myself. I would just play it just to narrate it, and then I would just turn the console off and just listen to myself narrating the game. So
I think we're weirdos. I don't think most people did that.
Are.
That's funny that you did that too.
Dude, well, that's amazing. Okay, all right. Now let me dig into something here. The first time I really became acquainted with your content was a post that you made on Blowout called The Luca Experiment. And this was way back when Luca's cards were first coming out. You identified Luca and you said, I want to chronicle my experiences obtaining Luca's cards, grading them, buying them, selling them. Tell us a little bit, for the audience who might not be familiar with that post, what was that post all about, and sort of how did it proceed as Luca became this like incredible superstar over the course of his rookie career?
All right. So, I guess I started the thread probably a few months into his first season, and I had already been collecting him for a little bit, not too long. It's not like a lot of his cards at that point. But, I was really high on him. I had followed him casually when he was in Europe, and obviously that summer when he won the EuroLeague championships, I was following him real closely. Now, I'm a huge Kings fan. And we had the number 2 pick in that draft. And, I thought that we would obviously draft him. If Ayton went first, he went first. Obviously, the Kings chose Bagley. But I was kind of scouting him out as a Kings fan. And when the Kings didn't draft him, I was so pissed. But the great thing about this hobby, and as I've learned being a Kings fan, is that if your GM screws up, you don't have to. Right. So that was, I was going to collect him no matter what. I would have probably collected him even harder if he was a Kings fan. But I definitely decided as soon as he was drafted by the Mavericks, hey, this is my guy. Like, this is the guy I want to collect this season. I had seen too much, and it was really like that winning DNA that he has, right? Just his clutchness in those big moments that really drew me to him at 18 years old. So I knew pretty like during that process that I wanted to go after him. Now, the reason why I did things the way I did, and I put this thread on a site called Blowout Forums. So I had joined Blowout Forums the year before, and that was kind of my intro back to the hobby. I had been casually looking at some of their articles and some of their threads for several months before I signed up and everything. But my first experience on Blowout, the first week I was on Blowout, and at this point, the only guy, I should say that I came back in 2017. First cards I picked up were some Jordans from my childhood that I really wanted, some LeBron James rookie cards, but I really wanted to speculate on some young rookie, and that was Harry Giles. And Harry Giles is this big man from Sacramento. He was the #1 high school prospect in the 2016 class, and the Kings drafted him. They sat him a year. And basically, when I joined Blowout, the first week I was there, someone started a Harry Giles thread. And for me, I just went nuts, right? I was like, holy crap, the guy I've been collecting for the last several months, now he has his own thread. And basically, I hijacked that thread. And after several months, his prices had gone up considerably. I say more it was because of his impact in Summer League. But quite a few people pointed the finger at me on that website and said I basically pumped his prices up. And they even went as far as saying that it was borderline criminal what I was doing. And for me, it was coming from a real genuine place, right? I was speculating on this guy. I had a bunch of his cards, but I had laid that all out. I had shown everyone my collection, right? And as a Kings fan, during a really horrible year, he was one of the few bright spots. This player that we were sitting for a year, but had all this potential. So basically, the reason why I did the Luka Doncic experiment the way I did was because of the backlash I got from the Harry Giles debacle, or whatever you want to call it. So I decided, hey, if I create a thread and I disclose as much as I can, right? Then basically, what are people going to say? I'm going to try to lay it all out there. If you're going to hate on me, go ahead. But I'm not going to try to hide anything. I'm just going to show it there for you guys. And so that was somewhat the reason why I just decided to disclose all of my purchases, all my sales, and all of that stuff. I guess what basically happened since then is that I became I was a really good buyer, and I've always been a really good buyer. But you know, you're watching Luka that year, and you and I we befriended each other during that season, and you know how much fun it was watching him and holding on to his cards. And there just came a point where I said, hey, you know what? Like, I'm not doing this to make money. Like, it is a part of the equation, but you know, I don't sell these cards. It's not like what pays the mortgage and all that stuff. So a lot of it is in entertainment. And I just decided, hey, you know, I'm going to continue to grow my my Luka Doncic collection. I'm going to stop selling as much. And so that was kind of the end of the Luka Doncic experiment, when I became more of a collector than looking at opportunities to sell. So hopefully that gives you a sense of why I did it and what happened after.
It makes a lot of sense. So two things. First, let me say the transparency is admirable, and it's so appreciated. And on a number of levels. Number one, it's great to, you know, let everybody see kind of how things are working, and you know, that kind of relates to my other point, which is that it lets people vicariously live through your experience. People who maybe were like you, but you know, exploring collecting or exploring Blowout, but not ready to jump in yet. They get to see somebody go through it, and they get to live through you and see what you buy, what you sell. Because not everything, if I remember correctly, not everything was profitable. You know, sometimes a card would go down, but you would sell it, or it wouldn't grade right and you would sell it. And other times it would go well.
Yeah,
right?
definitely. So, especially that first year, you didn't see giant price spikes, you know, during his rookie year, especially the second half of the season where he was kind of slowing down. Trae Young was picking up. It was, yeah, it's just a completely different market than we see now. So it was getting through completely different situation at that point.
Definitely. And you provided a beautiful segue to shift to talking about your approach to Luka collecting now. So like I'm on your Instagram page right now. I see a post you made promoting episode 2. You've got 4 Lukas pictured here. Galactic, Gold Contenders Auto, Optic Gold, the rated rookie, the true Optic Rookie Gold, BGS 9.5. All these are like gems or close. Luka Courtside Gold, BGS 9.5. Talk about like what cards that you go after now that you're collecting Luka. What's your approach? What's your strategy? What are the cards that you target and why?
Well, I guess early on, I knew from Harry Giles I wanted to pick up a bunch of silver prisms, a bunch of optic. But, the thing that the longer I'm in this hobby or have been back to this hobby, I just want the nicest copies, the most iconic cards that he could have in the future. And I think you had a shift towards that direction as well, where, you own 10 copies of silver prisms. It's a nice card. I like looking at it, but it just, at a certain point, it loses its luster. So it really became trying to pick up his best cards. And I'll be honest with you here. The RPA, the National Treasures RPA that I was fortunate enough to pick up over the summer before his second season, you were really the one. You were really the one who pushed me to get that card. Now, we were going back and forth at that time, and we were talking about picking up that card, and you actually went out and got one. And when you did, I swear, I was like, all right, that's it. I need a copy of that card. Because I felt like we had similar feelings, similar taste in certain regards. And for you to finally pull the trigger on that card, that definitely pushed me to picking up that card. And once you pick up that card, I think that changes the way you look at his cards again. Now you got one of his big boys. So I started looking at, the nicer golds that you could pick up. And that's why I picked up the gold Optic Contenders as a redemption when it was, a decent price. And then the Optic, which I picked up this season. So I actually had to fork over some money. But that's really the philosophy that I'm going to have going forward. Obviously, it's way harder now with just how expensive his high-end cards are. But I'm looking at selling off Lukas that I have duplicates of, or just, I think you went through a similar process where you look at all these Luka cards you have and go, okay, which ones could I live without? And, that is all in hopes of upgrading. So at this point, I have a few Lukas that I really want, and I'm just trying to put myself in a good situation where if it becomes available, I'll be able to make a run at it. So for me, it's not going to be about growing my Luka in terms of numbers. How many Lukas do I have? They might be shrinking, but I'm trying to improve like the quality of my top 10, top 15 Lukas. So that's basically it right now. We'll see how his career goes, but yes, you gotta sell off a bunch of stuff to buy his expensive stuff, unless you do, man, and like truly loaded.
Right, and you're right, man. Like there's a difference when you have like 10 Prism Silver PSA 10s versus having one monster Luka. The value wise they might line up, but when you just like when I scroll through Instagram and I see 10 Prism Silvers, I'm impressed. But when I scroll through Instagram and I see a Luka Courtside Gold BGS 9.5, jealousy overcomes me.
Exactly.
Like those that's the difference, right? That's the collector gene in us. That's like, damn, there's 10 of that card. I need that one. Like I can go buy 10 silvers anytime I want.
Exactly.
I need that gold.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, you see so many people buying quantities. We see it with base now, right? I see 100 base rookie cards, 10 silvers. I have no emotional reaction anymore. But if you show me that gold or something like that, I will stare at it. I will probably message you. I will stalk you for the next several weeks. Yeah, it's a whole different ball game. And it's kind of, it's almost like a disease wanting these really rare, expensive cards. You're searching on eBay every single day. You wake up looking on eBay, you go to sleep looking on eBay, and almost every day you don't find it.
Yep.
So we torture ourselves wanting these cards, but
Yep. Well, that's why I like the market fundamentals of those cards the best, because I know that if I feel that way, if you feel that way, there's other people who feel that way. That those cards to me have very, very strong markets, because it's more than a commodity. It's a collectible. It's something that
totally
we really,
agree, man.
really
I think what was the term you used? Parabolic price potential or something like that. Totally agree on that, because you don't see a card show up, surface for 3, 4, 5 years, and people want that card. It's going to be a bidding frenzy. I'm really curious to see a LeBron 2012-13 gold prism come up, right? I talk about parabolic pricing based on what that sold for. I think it sold in 2013 for, who knows, a couple $1,000. And now I don't even want to guesstimate how much that thing would go for.
Yeah, I know. And then that's the other part of that equation too, though, is that we probably will never find out, because when people get those cards, they lock them away and they never come out.
Or all these private deals, man. So many private deals on these high-end cards. It blows me away sometimes.
Well, there is ComC is auctioning off a 2012 Kawhi rookie gold prism BGS 9.5. So that will tell us quite a bit. That's in August. That's coming. So that will tell us a little bit about the 2012 prism market, I think, for sure. What's the story? If you want to share, if you don't, that's fine too. But if I remember correctly, there's a pretty good story about how you picked up the NT. You picked it up raw, and then you graded it.
Well, I guess the story really is the NT that I almost picked up, like literally 3 weeks before I picked up the NT that I actually got. I was at the National in Chicago, and there was a D-patch Luka NTRPA that had been on eBay for like a month. I think it was priced at around 10,000 OBO. Completely different times. And I had been going back and forth with the seller, and basically he was like, I'm going to be in Chicago. If you're there, I'll bring the card. Let's meet up. I'll be there on Saturday. I think it was a Saturday. So Friday, he's messaging me saying, hey, I'll be there at 11. I'll be at table 183 or whatever. And so I'm like, great. So I'm at my hotel, 10:30. I'm messaging him saying I'm leaving. He says, great. 10:50, I'm saying I'm walking in. And then I get to his table at 10:55, and the Luka D-patch is on the table. There's like stacks of $100 bills on the table, and the deal is going down right in front of me as I walk up. And I was just like, the guy was there and he saw me and he was just like, oh, hey man, I'm really sorry. And then he asked me, how much were you going to offer me? And I told him, I was like, well, it was going to be like 8,500, somewhere around there. I'm like, what happened? And he's like, this guy just offered me cash. And the guy paid $8,500 for the card, and he was a dealer. And literally, as soon as he said that, he just disappeared. He grabbed his stack of cash and he was out. And so then the dealer was trying to sell me the card, because I was like telling everybody who wanted to listen, oh my God, I just got screwed here. And the dealer was like, all right, I'll feel bad. I'll sell it to you for $9,500. Right. And, I get from his perspective, like, okay, cool. And he's like, or else I'm just going to go over to BGS and get it graded in like 30 minutes. And you could pay twice as much in like 30 minutes. He's putting on the pressure. So I tried to work out a deal. I had some cards, and I just realized that it probably wasn't going to happen. He was looking for like over $10,000 in trade value. And obviously just the way things went down, I didn't really have the greatest taste in my mouth. So I just said, screw it, and just left the card, forgot about it, came back home, complained to everybody about the D-patch card. And then 3 weeks later, I'm on Blowout forums looking at the buy, sell, trade section. And lo and behold, a guy who had just come back to the hobby, second box he ever bought was this National Treasures box, spent $1,000 for it. He couldn't believe it. And he posts this Luka Doncic D-patch that just looks pristine or gem. And I was fortunate enough to reach out to him. And I guess there was quite a few people who made offers on the card, but I think I edged out the next highest bidder by $100. And so I just got really lucky. And the funny thing is, that was just my first offer I made him. And this guy was pretty new, so he didn't really know, like, oh, I can counter back, you know? So he just, he took that first offer, and I'm very fortunate because if I didn't pick up that card, I would not be feeling so great right now, you know? So
well, yeah, especially with that way that first one went down.
Exactly. So it all ended well. It was a nice redemption story for me. And yeah, it graded a gem mint. So very fortunate overall how everything went down.
Well, yeah, the hobby karma swung back in your favor there, I think, in a major way. I'm glad to see that happen. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Although I do feel guilty now. It's weird how this hobby works or how I work. The guy who bought it, who sold it to me, right? He's reached out a few times to me and just basically said, like, that's a really great card. Like, and I'm like, yeah, thanks, man. Thank you so much. But you just feel bad.
Yeah, if you're in the hobby long enough, you will be on both sides of that equation.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
every single Luka card I've sold is kind of the same boat.
I have a guy who has no qualms at all about. I sold him a Michael Jordan Noise Boys PSA 10 for $4,000 last summer when I was fundraising for something else. Now the card is like in the tens of thousands, and he messages me once in a while. Every time any copy of that card sells, shout out Jason. This is Jason who's doing this. He'll message me and he'll be like, "Dude, man, I really appreciate you selling me this card, bro." And he'll send me the comp.
Oh man,
I'm like, well, congrats,
like torture.
yeah, he's a special guy. Okay, so all right, so now one more topic on Luka here. Okay. What are your thoughts going into the Disney bubble? Luka, he's kicking the ball into the hoop from 30 feet away, from 40 feet away. He's trending on Twitter right now as we speak. He's doing trick shots. He's battling in the post against Boban on viral videos. He's all over the place. He looks very much in his element in the bubble, while many other NBA players seem to not really be acclimating to it quite as well. So that's just one factor here. Luka,
this is basically, I totally agree. I mean, this is going to be a complete pump fest right now of Luka Doncic.
Let's go.
Yeah, he's going into this bubble with no kids, no giant social issue that he needs to be a face of. He's just going into this wanting to play basketball, and you can see it in these videos, right? Like that trick shot, I'm not even sure if it's a trick shot. He might bust out that kick in a game. He looked pretty good doing it. But I just feel that this environment for him, he's going to thrive in. And his attitude, the way he's looking at things, it rubs off on his teammates. And I was listening to Rick Carlisle. He does these little interviews, little 10-minute interviews that he posts once or twice, or about once a day. And he's basically saying, we're going into Orlando, we want to win. So this is a completely different attitude. You wouldn't expect this attitude from a team that's led by a second-year, 20-year-old player. You would expect this, or 21-year-old player. You would expect this from someone who's a vet, 5-6 years, who this is his time to prove himself. But the team, they have the confidence that they can beat anybody. And that's like the first big step. So for me, I feel that the Dallas is a giant dark horse in the West. I don't think anybody wants to play him. And before this whole bubble, I was a little bit weary of the Clippers. But honestly, the Clippers, they're missing Montrezl right now. Who knows when he's going to come back? And I think this situation for them, it's just a lot of pressure. They don't quite have their full team. Dallas could upset them, like legitimately, if they do have to match up in the first round. And basically, all I'm saying is, Dallas is going to give anybody a fit, I think, in these playoffs. And if Dallas is the dark horse in the West, then Luka has got to be the wild card of wild cards in these entire playoffs, because no one can slow him down, right? No one can speed him up. No one can change the way he plays. And that's oftentimes, the pressure of a new player or a player being in the playoffs for the first time is, can you adjust to the pace? And so I think the way Luka plays, it's going to be a perfect match for the playoffs, where, you know, he's going to continue to play at his pace and everyone's going to have to adjust. So I'm just excited, man. I can't believe Thursday in a few days we're going to be seeing Lakers, Dallas.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Let me jump in on the Clippers topic for a second, because while the Mavericks have not defeated the Clippers this year, whereas they have defeated the Lakers and the Bucks and some of the other giant teams, the last time the Clippers and the Mavericks played, it was a very close game. It was a clutch game. It was decided by maybe 3 points. And I hear a lot of talk about Kawhi is going to be the Luka stopper. Well, guess what? Yeah. Kawhi matched up against Luka for most of that game. Luka had 36, 10, and 9, if memory serves. It was just a walk in the park for the kid. So I'm not buying that hype. Exactly. And so I'm not sold yet on this idea that there's Luka stoppers out there, because there's too many facets to his game. If you're going to take away his ability to penetrate, then you're going to have to bring multiple defenders, and he can pass the ball with the absolute best of them. Those cross court 40-foot overhead just lasers that he throws to the corner to find the open guy anywhere. If you shut off one part of his game, he's got another part of his game to come back with. So I can't wait to see playoff Luka match up against playoff Kawhi.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think that you can have a Luka stopper. If you remember last year, Luka dropped a huge 30-plus point triple-double against the Raptors when Kawhi was guarding him. He's just a type of player that he, against a Kawhi, who uses his big hands and his reach, Luka just uses his body so well. He does this to all big guys, big bodies. He's able to drive, and kind of that last physical contact he has with the player always creates a little space. Or he can do that little, 10-foot floater, and there's no answer to that. Kawhi doesn't have a defensive move that can stop that. So yeah, you can't have a Luka stopper. You got to have incredible team defense. And like I said, even when you do great team defense, he can break you down when he gets into the hole, and he's going to find somebody. So I'm really excited, man. I can't believe how optimistic I am. Luka first playoffs, but I really think that a miracle could happen here.
It could, man, because the dynamic, there's so many unknowns in this situation. Let me throw some more fuel on the fire here. So Luka had a tremendous sophomore jump. I didn't think that was going to happen. When he came out of the gate in November, averaging a 30-point triple-double, Western Conference Player of the Month, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, but now we've kind of gotten used to it. But what do you think about this? Is this hype, or is there something to this? So we basically had a 4-month off season. So this isn't a normal playoffs where a guy's coming from his sophomore season into his sophomore playoffs. We're basically looking at junior season Luka now, who's had a 4-month layoff, and now he's coming back in. I just see the confidence in him. Guys make sophomore leaps, but guys make junior season leaps. Tatum made a terrific junior season leap this year. Is there anything to this? Can we see junior season Luka in his sophomore season playoffs thanks to this 4-month layoff?
Well, I'm not really sure what that would look like. I think if he just plays like he did to start off this season, right? In November, he had 30, 10, and 10. I think that would be good enough. 30, 10, and 10, I'd be happy with. I think that his style of play is just, it's something that, this third year, where am I going with this? His style of play in his third year, I think, is going to really be about, not style of play. Let me X that. It's about his health, right? He was a little banged up at the end of, right before the suspension of the season. And when he's healthy, when he's fully ready to play like he was in the beginning of the year, he puts up big numbers, right? And we also saw that his rookie season, where he started off hot and tapered off. So for me, these 4 months, it allowed him to recuperate, be healthy. And since we do have a really shortened period of time, I think it's perfect for him, right? You've got eight seeding games plus the playoff games. That's almost the perfect number of games for him to come out and just be lights out from the get-go. And going back to the Clippers thing, let's say they beat the Clippers in that first round. they can beat anybody, obviously. Like you think those Mavericks after they beat the Clippers will be satisfied? No. So it's
No.
dangerous. If the Mavericks win the first round, they could easily win it all. So
Yeah,
sorry, I have
that
to
would
go
be a
back to
freight
that.
train. No. That would be a freight train that nobody would want to be in the way of if that happened. But to round out this discussion, Vegas odds on the Mavericks are long. Mavericks are a young team.
What are
They
they,
are
like plus
dealing.
3,000 or something?
Yep, I think plus 2,800 the last time I looked. They might have gotten worse. So like we're dealing with odds that are long here. Vegas tends to know what they're talking about when they lay these lines. So
Yeah.
we have that to think, and then we've got injuries to Dwight Powell and to Brunson. Neither of those guys will be playing. So those are two pretty important role players. And Powell, a starter and a rim runner that's been very effective for the Mavericks. So things can go either way. But yeah, it's fun to be excited about
Yeah.
Luka and the Mavericks coming back.
Yeah. I guess it's just the crazy thing that we're this high on a team led by a second year 21-year-old. It's just nuts. Right.
It is nuts. And you know what, man? If God forbid they get 4-0'd in the first round or something like that, I'll be fine. I'll be fine with it, man, because first of all, Luka prices will hopefully come back to earth a little
Yeah,
bit,
that
and
is
I can
true.
go back to
That is a
picking
good
up
point.
some stuff because I'm concerned that if a miracle happens this playoffs, like you said, and the Mavericks end up doing something tremendous, that like I'll have to find a new prospect because Luka's going to be unattainable at that point.
Yeah, seriously. No, it'll be interesting to see how quick of a turnaround it is into the next season. But also, just the hobby has never been this hot before heading into an off season, right? And I think historically we've always seen that cool down 20% or so during the off season. Could we see less of a dip or a bigger dip with the market so hot right now, right? So it's going to be curious to see how the off season goes and how, if they lose 0-4, how much of an impact does that have? If they win one game, is there a difference? It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, hopefully there'll be opportunities if they do have a quick exit. But I have a feeling probably not. Maybe you'll see some like silver prism prices retreat or something like that. But I still see his big cards. I don't see them losing 20% value.
It would be, I don't know. It's a great point because we are definitely in unprecedented speculative moments because you have the playoffs. We're right on the verge of the playoffs, so there's no time to build cards and hoard and make moves. People are trying to load up for the playoffs. So there's that, and then already the playoffs generate such an energy. But I remind myself that only one team can actually live up to the hype, and everybody else is going to eventually drop off from the playoffs. So, lots of people are high on lots of players, superstars, Giannis, Tatum, LeBron, Kawhi, AD, etc. Siakam, even. Like a lot of these guys have gotten very expensive heading into the playoffs as we've had this prolonged period to speculate. But also there's so much money coming into the hobby. So it's not just active players who are 5Xing over the past 6 months. It's Allen Iverson. It's Kevin Garnett. It's Vince Carter. It's Carmelo Anthony. All these guys' prices are going vertical. You look at their price graphs, it's just going straight up. It's a steep cliff straight up. So then that kind of makes me think, okay, well, maybe this isn't so much speculation. Maybe this is just a bunch of new money coming into the hobby. It will definitely be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see with that LeBron James sale, that $1.8 million RPA, if that generates even more interest. Because I've already had a few text messages from my neighbors who don't collect cards whatsoever saying, oh, I saw that $1.8 million LeBron sale. And another buddy of mine was like, oh, I've got cards that I haven't looked at for a while. So I've had most of my friends now know basketball cards because of me, and I do this Christmas party and stuff like that. But there's still these new wave of people who are being, their interest is being piqued by this type of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see if LeBron's sale, continues that momentum. We had the Jordan Green PMG that boosted the market. We obviously had The Last Dance. But, $1.8 million, it catches a lot of people's attention, which then leads them to going onto eBay or looking at some old cards they had.
That's all it takes. That's all it takes. And then you create another you or another me. and now all of a sudden the market gets a lot more complicated. That's all it took for me, was just finding my old cards and going on eBay. And then now 4.5 years later, here we are.
Yeah, exactly. Once I started looking up cards, I haven't stopped, and it's been like 3 years. It's just part of the routine. It's like brushing your teeth.
Exactly. Okay, I want to talk to you about wax a little bit. And you mentioned Prismus. What is that?
So about a year and 2 Christmases ago, I would get retail cases of Prism. I would buy like 2 retail cases of Prism. And basically I just had my friends over, and just the first year it wasn't planned that we were going to be opening cards, but I was like, hey, I got a case of cards. You guys want to rip it? We're obviously having some beers, and it led to about 9 or 10 of us shredding through a case in like 30 minutes. But everyone just had a blast. For a lot of my friends, that was the moment, right? The nostalgia flooding back and hitting them, and them going, oh, these cards look cool. Like, oh, these look nothing like when I was collecting. And just, and them saying, oh, I've got some cards in my mom's house. And so last year we decided to make it like a real party. My wife took the kids to her parents' house, and I stayed behind extra couple of days, and we had a case of Optic, a case of Prism. We started off with some hoops. We wanted to, have a little icebreaker into everything. So we started off with some hoops. We ended up opening up a briefcase of Flawless and like 10 FOTL Prism boxes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing though. Like last Christmas, sealed wax was at a completely different place than it is now, right? True. We're talking about like a quarter of the price, and that might even be undervaluing it. So I'm not sure if we're going to be able to pull this off in the future, right?
It might be a lot more hoops, and the warm up will be the
exactly.
mosaic
plaster. No, but it's just feeling like a kid. You're with 9 or 10 of your buddies, and you're just going through cards, and people are pulling stuff in different rooms. The funny thing is, the next morning I woke up and I found cards in the most random place. I found a Zion base Prism rookie card just on my fireplace mantle, just hidden. I didn't find that card for several days actually. But no, it's just a fun way of hanging out with friends and just full nostalgia in effect.
Okay. So that's one side of the wax experience, and the part that we love, and that's at the heart of why wax is so valuable. But the other side of the wax aspect is holding wax and treating it like a card or like something that you're collecting. And so I know that 2019-20 Prism, first off the line, was the first, if memory serves, it was the first Dutch auction experiment from Panini. Yep. And you went hard on it. Like, tell me a little bit about how that went, and do you still have any of those boxes now? Like, how did that all unfold?
Well, I bought quite a few. I bought over 100 boxes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I went nuts. I'll be honest. I have like, I don't even know what, a stipend, my allotted amount of money that I plan on buying stuff for the year with cards. And when Prism FOTL came out and I was looking at the contents, I was doing the math on how frequently you hit golds, gold shimmers, and just the breakdown of the box. I in my head, I was like, this is the most loaded box Panini has ever made in terms of its content, right? In previous years, there was 1 shimmer, 2 shimmers. And in this box, there were 6 shimmers. People were complaining that there weren't any base cards, and I get that from a collector standpoint. But in terms of the value of the box, I didn't think it was the 6 shimmers more than made up for the base that you were losing. So I had a certain price that I thought the box should be at. And I bought quite a few boxes through the site when the actual Dutch auction was going on. But when it was all over, 5-hour Dutch auction, that first one. When it was all over, I went to eBay and I was looking at the prices, and they're selling for around $425, $430. I just decided, hey, I want more of this product. Like, this is, in my opinion, the best box that I'm going to be able to get. And I felt that the Dutch auction, it being the first time, threw people off a little bit in terms of trying to put a value on the box. So I decided I'm going to buy these boxes. I'm going to use up all my hobby funds basically for the year buying up this box. And I basically put the price at 500. I'm going to keep buying until I hit 500. And yeah, 100 plus boxes later, I have my Prism FOTL stash. But it has made it harder in terms of acquiring stuff that I really want, because I used up all my funds on that FOTL wax. I am going to start selling them off. I'm thinking about it now. The price going back to wax, I don't know. I was mentioning this to you earlier. I don't know when the 2021 products are going to come out, right? I just can't imagine that it's going to be anywhere the same dates that they have been in years past. So if they're pushed
because of
back,
the way the season schedule is being
exactly,
right
and the
now.
rookie photo shoot, how are they going to get pictures of all these incoming rookies? It's a pretty complicated mess for Panini, I'm imagining. So there could be this big period of time, let's say 3, 4, 5 months with no new product. So when I look at it from that perspective, it makes me want to continue to hold off on selling this Prism FOTL, because I think the fundamentals for it look really good for the rest of the year. But at the same time, I do want to buy other cards. So that's kind of the situation I'm in, where I'll probably be selling off maybe 10% of my FOTL stash to put myself in a better position to pick up a big Luka or a big Steph or just any big card.
Makes sense. Okay. That is such a fun story. All right. And you'll save some for Christmas, I'm assuming, too.
Like I said, man, this year there might be a buy-in to attend Christmas.
That's only fair, I think. That is only fair.
Because in years past, I've been very generous. If like people pulled a card they wanted, I just gave it to them, right? So it was always like a losing proposition, but now it would be a really big losing proposition. So I'll have to mull that one over a little bit.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, you mentioned Curry. I want to talk to you a little bit about your Curry PC. Correct me if I'm wrong. You have Curry's Prism Gold from every year?
Yep.
Okay.
That was one of my goals when I started collecting Curry. Like, okay, I want to get all of his golds. I was fortunate enough to get a bunch of them last summer off of one guy who had 4 different years of his golds. So that was the big turning point in terms of that.
That's always nice when that can happen that efficiently, because tracking down Prism Golds can be very difficult.
Yeah. When I first came back to the hobby, I was picking up Curry Golds for $200-$400, right? And they were just sitting on eBay. And yeah, so by the time I got to last year in the summer, you couldn't find Curry Golds. They were a few $1,000s. Just the funny thing about the guy who sold it to me, great guy, is he didn't tell me he had all these golds. He sold one at a time to me. So like I bought the 18-19 gold off of him. And then a week later goes by and he's like, oh, hey, I've got a 15-16 gold. I was like, oh yeah, hook it up. Let me buy it. He'd sell it to me. And then after that, I'd be like, I've got a 14-15 gold. Until eventually he's like, hey, by the way, I have a 12-13 gold. And that's when I was just like, dude, what are you doing to me?
He
what do
slow rolled you. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm sure he wishes he probably still had them now rather than slow rolling them, but just it's none the same. Yeah. I'm sure he put that money elsewhere that was to good use. So I actually found on your Instagram page the family picture of all 7, and it is a sight to behold. And so the question I have to ask, and I'm sure this is a difficult question, which is your favorite? I mean, you got the 2012. I mean, 2012 Prism has become so just revered in the hobby now that my eye is drawn to it because I know what the design looks like. I know the aesthetic. When I'm scrolling Instagram and I see a 2012 Prism, it just catches my eye now. That's how it works. We learn what's big and what's and what's desired, and we adapt to it. So like I see a 2012. 2012 is a great argument to be made. I see the 2018-19. Obviously, I love that card because I've looked at so much 18-19 Prism product that the design is very familiar to me. Do you have a favorite? I mean, the 2013 one has a really slick design too. But then you got I think it's the 2014. The back is just all gold, just like gold brick. So I don't. Do you have a favorite one of these?
I mean, I'm gonna be predictable here. I'm gonna say it's the 12-13 gold, just because that's the card that I wanted the most, and I wasn't sure if and when I was going to be able to acquire that card. So that was a huge deal. I will say it's not like visually the best looking Prism, but yeah, just the aura about the card, I can't deny it. Visually, I would say 2015-16. I've always been a fan of that year. That was the first year for the White Sparkle, first year for Mojo, and they had a lot of great action shots on that card. You know, that 14-15 year, I'm actually a big fan of as well. Just the reason why you pointed it out, it's the only Prism that's all gold, right? You have the rookie cards because of the photo shoot that will have the all gold background. But for a vet card, it definitely stands out. But people seem to hate on 14-15 for some reason. I don't really get it. I think it might be because they had all these variations, SP variations. But yeah, for me, I think 14-15 looks great. The first one I picked up was 16-17, and so that card I like as well. It's got Curry with his gold uni with the gold parallel, so that looks nice. But in reality, I guess, you know, outside of the 12-13, I just like them all. I just like gold Prisms. Love the look of them. I love the fact that, you know, he only has 80 that have been made, and it's been 8 years of the product. Is that right? It might be 70. Anyways, it's just...
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, it was like my main focus when I started with Curry. So for me, it's just, it's got a place, special place, those golds.
So talk a little bit about collecting Curry too. If I had come back to the hobby earlier and it wasn't Luka, whose game I ultimately became attracted to, I like Curry a lot. I think, you know, Curry, the ship has maybe sailed a little bit for me on Curry, although I think Curry still has some very nice cards that fly under the radar. But talk a little bit about collecting Curry and what got you started on him and why you collect Curry.
Well, I live in the Bay Area. I live 30 minutes from Oakland, 30 minutes from San Francisco. I'm fortunate enough to go to quite a few Warriors games. So I'll be honest, man. I've just been I was a secret Stephen Curry fan for forever, right? I'm a Kings fan, and almost all my friends are Kings fans as well. So this is not something that I can just openly discuss, right? Or I couldn't those early years, right? When the Warriors were winning their championships, most of my friends were groaning, right? Saying like, the Kings, like we've made so many mistakes. So I was a secret Stephen Curry fan, always just felt like he was the most ridiculous player that I watched. I really have ever watched. He does stuff in games, you know, rack up points where you're just scratching your head. Like, how's this guy just, you know, just tossing up these threes, turning around and running the other direction? And it's just swish. I don't think he's ever shot a three that he turned around the other way that didn't go in. Right. So he's a guy I admired so much. So when I started back into the hobby in 2017, he was a guy that I was targeting. Like I did pick up some LeBron James cards and Michael Jordan cards, but for the most part, you know, Steph Curry was 25% what LeBron James, a lot of his cards were. So it was more of the economical choice, but I also felt that he was a player that I could put money into and not be too concerned about his future, because he already had championships. He was already considered the greatest shooter of all time. And so he had this built-in legacy. He changed the game. So that gave me, I just decided he was the guy. He was the blue chip player that I was going to focus in on. So it came from being a secret fan and also his prices as compared to Jordan and LeBron that really led me to him.
And you say something really interesting there. He was your blue chip player. So like I have a similar approach. Christina and I do. We have a Michael Jordan collection and we have a Luka collection. Now Luka originally was like 25% of our PC or maybe less. And then this year happened and everything of his went up in value tremendously. And now he represents like half of our PC. So like we have like the blue chip Jordan whose prices also are going up, but not like Luka. And then we have Luka. So we have this weird kind of 50-50 dynamic right now. I think it actually works pretty well. But is that something you actively thought about? Like, I'm going to have prospects, but I'm also going to have that blue chip player whose legacy is like pretty firm.
Definitely. I pretty much have the same philosophy strategy as you and Christina. Like right when I came back into the hobby, it was like, I'm going to spend half the money that I've got set aside for this on blue chips, and then the other half I wanted to speculate. And for me, I remember it was really Ben Simmons. I remember Ben Simmons, it was his Flawless product that came out. And I was looking at these prices for his Flawless diamond base cards because he didn't have any autos signing with Upper Deck, and just going like, how much are basketball cards these days? Right? That was kind of the beginning of looking at these cards. And so Ben Simmons, obviously a speculative player at that time, still is. I knew I wanted to focus on half my money on guys that I thought were proven, but I definitely wanted to gamble. I wanted to take a risk on somebody that could spike in price. And so that's how I chose Harry Giles as that first player to speculate on. And it's gone from Harry to Luka. To this year, it's kind of all over the place. To be honest with you, it's not anyone specific as years past.
Okay, I see. Okay, so I want to bring this to a conclusion here. There's been a lot of pearls of wisdom that have been disseminated in this conversation, and so more than enough. So let me just bring this to the final questions. I ask these questions of everybody. Just a fun set of questions, not to be taken too seriously by the audience, by anybody. These are just fun questions to, be provocative. So the first question I ask, and so this question has been pretty slanted so far in the favor of one of the answers, but Lamim James was the first person to answer it the other way. Okay, so it's just a simple either or, and the question is this: what do you prefer? Do you prefer watching sports, which we're about to do a whole lot of here shortly, or do you prefer collecting cards? Watching sports or collecting cards? Which one do you prefer more and why?
I got to go watching sports. That is the foundation for everything. Like if I didn't love basketball, I wouldn't be collecting basketball cards. For me, basketball cards is more of a way to get closer to the game, right? Feel a little bit more connected to the players that I love. And again, being a Kings fan and having such little team success, I'm just a fan of the NBA. Like I love LeBron James. I love Giannis. I love all these players. I don't really have a villain since the Kings don't really have a villain. So it's just it's appreciating all these players, and I just enjoy any basketball. I enjoy sports, but basketball specifically. So yeah, that one for me is definitely watching sports.
Okay, so watching sports is on the rise now. I think that brings the tally to 3-2. Okay,
that's right. Nice.
Good. Okay, and then the final questions. This is like a two-part question, but it's just two sides of the same coin. Which player or card do you think is currently undervalued, and which player or card do you think is overvalued? Undervalued, overvalued. You can answer this in either order that you would like, but just and again, this is just a fun question. But to
well, let me see which card I have the most of. Real fast.
That's the undervalued one, right?
Actually, you know what? I'm going to answer it based on the card I have the most of. I was kidding, but it's actually going to be the card. I mentioned it on my YouTube channel actually. And it's the most undervalued card, in my opinion. I'm not saying like right now, but where I think the card could be in 5 years. and when I say 5 years in this hobby, it probably means next year, is Stephen Curry's 1819 Optic Hollow, which you can buy for $20 right now. And for me, the LeBron James Optic Hollow card. That is a huge card. And in PSA 10 form, it's probably getting close to 2,000. I actually just guessing on that one, but it's a big dollar card. And it's actually not even Stephen Curry. It's Giannis, it's Kawhi, all these vets outside of LeBron James, that optic set. I think people have put a lot of focus on 16-17 optic right now, and prices for 16-17 optic hollows have taken off. But for me, 18-19 optic is going to be the more memorable year down the line. 18-19 optic is what really made optic, brought eyes to the product. Prices rose because of the card, and it's because of the design. People love the look of the card. It's got that Topps chrome feel. And some people estimate that you're looking at a fifth of the print run of Prism, or even more, or even less. So that's the card. I think fundamentals, everything, just the set itself and the player. In 5 years, I can't imagine that being anywhere close to $20. So I'll say that is the most undervalued card on my radar. Most overvalued. Oh man, this is going to be really unpopular. I apologize to Lameme James in advance. I think it's Trae Young, man. I'm going to be general on this one. I really like him. I think he's fun. I liked him in college. But again, you got to be winning championships at some point to justify prices, even Trae Young prices, right? And he's just so far from that. He doesn't really have the winning pedigree, right? He wasn't winning anything in college. I don't know what he did in high school, but nothing in college. And so far in the NBA, he puts up amazing stats. He's incredibly fun to watch. But I mean, the Hawks suck. And so that concerns me a little bit. If the Hawks don't turn things around record-wise and aren't in the playoffs or in a serious playoff hunt, I just don't see how Trae Young continues this momentum in the hobby. Because at some point, you're just too far removed away from your rookie year to get enough attention if your team doesn't have success. So big part of that is the Hawks, their outlook. I'm going to say most overvalued is Trae Young. Sorry, Chris.
There it is. I love it because back-to-back guests, with completely different approaches. That's how the hobby works, especially when you're talking about prospects. You can have very, very different approaches, and you know what? You get to put your money where your mouth is. Yep. So a lot of fun. Thank you for those answers. Thank you for an incredibly crisp interview. I think the people can see why your YouTube page is fastly growing and why I love the content. Thank
you. I attribute a third of the subscribers to you, by the way, for reposting my stuff, for putting my videos on Card Ladder. Congratulations on Card Ladder, by the way. But yeah, at least a third of my subscribers come from you.
Man, look, I think everybody who happens to subscribe to us should subscribe to the Lucas Show. Love the content, man. Thank you for making it. Thank you for just bringing the educational approach to the videos where you're showing off cards and it's fun, but you're also teaching so much about the hobby. I learned something every video that I watch from you, and I think that's maybe the highest compliment I can give. So,
well, thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for coming on the show, man. Any last thoughts here before we wrap up?
Dallas will win it all. Quote me on that one.
All right, there it is.
If they don't win, whatever. People will forget. But if they do win, golden.
You're a genius. Golden. All right, man. All right, guys. That does it for Conversation with Chris, episode 8. See you guys next time.